makes the Jews a people is not only religion, but our history, our culture, our contributions to the world. How can we know ourselves if we don't know our past? Jewish life in Poland has a 1,000-year-old history. If you're Jewish, chances are that you are descended from people who lived in Poland. Chances are that this is your history.
Poland was once home to the largest Jewish community in the world. We are the inheritors of that civilization, and we have a moral responsibility to know that history, to know that civilization, and to transmit it to generations to come.
We have to know how they lived, how they learned, how they behaved as merchants, or as friends, or as engineers, or as poets, mainly as sages and dreamers.
The Museum of the History of Polish Jews will showcase the creative achievement of the Jewish civilization that flourished in Poland for 1,000 years and has profoundly shaped Western Judeo-Christian culture. Set to open in Warsaw in 2013, the museum is the first public-private partnership of its kind in the new democratic Poland. The city of Warsaw donated the land, and the national government financed the capital costs of the building, well over $70 million. The exquisite building was designed by Finnish architects Rainer Mahalamaki and Ilmari Lahadelma. Now the museum has entered the final phase of production and installation of the core exhibition, which is financed by private donors, foundations, corporations, and the German government, and under the direction of the Jewish Historical Institute Association of Poland.
The museum is a journey. We think of our exhibition as a theater of history. Our visitors will find themselves immersed in the place, immersed in the time, and immersed in the lives of the people whose stories we tell.
The museum stands on the site of the Warsaw Ghetto, where young, armed Jewish men and women rose up against the might of the Wehrmacht in the first civilian uprising in all of Nazi-occupied Europe. The memorial to the ghetto heroes faces the museum, a testament to the courage of the Jews who lived, fought, and died there. And the Museum of the History of Polish Jews is testament to the fact that Hitler failed.
I like to think of the museum as completing the memorial site. If the monument honors those who died by remembering how they died, then what the museum does is to honor their memory by remembering how they lived.
The museum is a geographical place of memory, and you cannot be in the place of the ghetto uprising and not feel something very deep.
On the inside, there's an enormous chasm down the middle, and for me, that chasm says rupture, it says break, it says wound. But at the same time, there's a series of bridges that stand for the mission of the museum, which is to create a bridge across time, a bridge across continents, and a bridge across people.
On July 2nd, 2007, the new museum was officially born, planted firmly on the sacred ground of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising.
Better later than never. Here in this museum, the story will be told for the future generations, not only how millions of Jews perished in Holocaust, but the story of who were those Jews. What did they accomplish? What did they create? Who were these personalities? We need this museum.
The museum tells the story of how the Jewish community in Poland grew from a handful of intrepid travelers in the 11th century into the largest Jewish community in the world by the 20th.
By 1939, there are 3,300,000 Jews living in Poland. And they created a very vibrant Jewish life, a very vibrant community. They had political parties, the Zionists, the Bund. They had schools, Yiddish schools, Hebrew schools. There was the emergence and the extraordinary expansion of Hasidism. They had amateur theater groups, they had filmmakers, choirs. There was a wonderful Yiddish literary circle in Warsaw. So Polish Jews were creative in every conceivable field.
How do you recreate the past when so much has been destroyed? Jews built hundreds of wooden synagogues in Poland in the 17th and 18th centuries. Not a single one remains. But the museum has found an innovative way to reclaim what has vanished. Volunteers have come from around the world to rebuild the bima, roof, and painted ceiling of a 17th century synagogue, using traditional tools, materials, and techniques from that period. It is a centerpiece of the core exhibition.
I'm an Ashkenazi Jew, and I didn't even know about these architectural and artistic achievements. So we're trying to focus on the craft and the techniques to figure out how they did it, to try and recreate something that was lost in history.
The museum is the center of a Jewish Renaissance in Poland, a catalyst that is energizing the spirit of renewal. Every year, young American and Israeli Jews join Polish youth, both Jewish and non-Jewish, at festivals like the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow.
I think it's extraordinarily exciting to be a young Polish Jew today. So many things are happening. It's an exciting time for Poland. It's been already over 20 years since communism, and Poland is an open, thriving, vibrant, vivacious country. I think the museum will open people's eyes up to the fact that there is a Polish Jewish revival in Poland, that there is a Polish Jewish community. I think the museum will really be sort of a spark that will make people realize what's happening here today.
The museum is an educational center that will welcome 1 million visitors per year, including 200,000 Polish students, Israeli and American student exchanges, and millions more via the internet. And it will celebrate the historic contributions Polish Jews made to countries in which they made their homes all over the world. Israel's founding fathers were Polish Jews. And in the United States, Polish Jews enriched every aspect of American life. Tad Toby came to America when he was 8, on the eve of the Holocaust, but he never lost his connection to the country where he was born. Today, the Toby Foundation for Jewish Life and Culture and the Koret Foundation, which Tad serves as president, are major supporters of the Museum of the History of Polish Jews.
The Toby Foundation for Jewish Life and Culture has had a major presence in Poland. We actually pursued in Poland a rebirth, a renaissance of Jewish culture. We've actually become a player in the cultural fabric of the Republic of Poland. The principal challenge is to complete a $200 million project in a country that is not accustomed to large capital projects, and trying to explain the needs for that kind of capital to American donors. In terms of the museum, the Polish government has been helpful to a fault trying to make this happen.
Ale nie ulega wątpliwości, że historia Żydów polskich to część historii mojego kraju. To w szerokim tego słowa znaczeniu część historii mojego narodu i wymaga pamięci i uczczenia.
I'm so proud of my colleagues in the Polish government who have done so much to foster this museum, which will really be one of the great cultural landmarks in all of Europe.
There were 1,000 years of Jewish history in Poland. 1,000 years of activity, of extraordinary aspirations and endeavors and dreams and metamorphoses. 1,000 years, which must be studied and communicated and shared.
In the final days of the Warsaw Ghetto in 1943, artist Gela Sechstein buried her last will and testament. Found after the war, her prophetic appeal was intended for us.
I bequeath my artwork to the Jewish museum that will be established in the future to rebuild pre-war Jewish cultural life.